The year was 2157, and humanity had spread across several star systems. Earth remained the center of human civilization, but brave settlers had pushed outward, establishing colonies on distant worlds. One such colony was New Montana, a frontier world where the terraforming process had begun, but was moving slowly. The planet had breathable air and water, but crops struggled in the alien soil, and the colony faced constant economic hardship. Eliza Carter stood at the window of her small, prefabricated home, watching the strange purple sunset. Her hand rested gently on her growing belly, feeling the slight movements of the baby inside her. 3 months pregnant and still battling morning sickness, Eliza tried to focus on the beauty of this alien world rather than her worries. As a xenobiologist specializing in adapting earth plants to alien environments, Eliza had come to New Montana with high hopes. The colony needed her skills desperately. Her work in the agricultural domes had shown promise, with several modified wheat strains beginning to thrive in the adjusted soil. But lately, her professional satisfaction had been overshadowed by personal concerns. Her husband, Greg Porter, paced in their small living area, checking his communication device every few minutes. Once a promising engineer who had helped design the colony's water filtration system, Greg had grown distant over the past year. His engineering contracts had dried up as the colony's funding decreased, and his drinking had increased along with his visits to the colony's only gambling establishment. "Any word on that job in the northern settlement?" Eliza asked, trying to keep her voice hopeful. Greg barely looked up. "They went with someone local, said the transport costs were too high." Eliza sighed and moved away from the window. "We'll figure something out. My work is stable, and with the baby coming, your research stipend barely covers our food." Greg snapped, then immediately softened his tone. "Sorry, I'm just stressed." Eliza nodded, too tired to argue. What Greg didn't know was that she had received a promising message from the colony administrator earlier that day. Her latest plant hybrid was showing excellent results, and they wanted to expand her project. It would mean more money and job security, but Eliza had wanted to wait for the right moment to share the news. That night, as Eliza prepared a simple dinner from their rations and the vegetables from her small garden, Greg received another message. He took it outside, speaking in hushed tones. When he returned, something had changed. He seemed calmer, almost relieved. "Good news?" Eliza asked. Greg nodded, giving her a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Maybe. Just an old contact with a possible opportunity. Nothing certain yet." They ate dinner together, and for the first time in weeks, Greg asked about her work and the baby. He even suggested they start thinking about names. Eliza felt a flicker of hope that perhaps things were turning around. Later that evening, Greg brought her a cup of her favorite herbal tea. "You've been looking tired. This might help you sleep better." Eliza accepted the cup gratefully. The tea had a slightly bitter taste, but she drank it anyway, appreciating the rare gesture of thoughtfulness from her husband. Within 20 minutes, she felt unusually drowsy and decided to go to bed early. "I'll join you soon," Greg said, kissing her forehead. As Eliza drifted into sleep, she had no way of knowing that the tea had been drugged. She didn't see Greg pack a small bag for himself or watch as he checked his account balance on his device, now showing a substantial deposit of credits. She didn't feel Greg carefully wrapping her in a blanket or carrying her to their small transport vehicle. The Centauri Syndicate had made good on their promise. Half the payment up front, the other half upon delivery. Greg had fallen deep into debt with the Syndicate over the past year, borrowing more and more to cover his gambling losses. When they had first suggested this solution, he had been horrified. Sell his wife? His pregnant wife? It was unthinkable. But the Syndicate representatives had been persistent. They had clients, collectors from a species called the Vexari, who paid tremendous sums for breeding specimens from various intelligent species. Humans were particularly valuable due to their adaptability. A pregnant human female would fetch enough credits to not only clear his debts, but give him a fresh start somewhere far away. As the weeks passed and his debts mounted, What had once been unthinkable became a desperate option. The final threat, from the syndicate that they would take both him and Eliza if he couldn't pay, had pushed him over the edge. Greg drove the transport to the edge of the colony, where the security patrols rarely ventured. A small unmarked shuttle waited there, its engines humming quietly. Two figures emerged as he approached. A human man in expensive clothes and an alien with gray skin and large black eyes. "This is the specimen?" the human asked, his voice emotionless. Greg nodded, unable to speak. The alien moved forward, scanning Eliza with a handheld device. Healthy female, approximately 3 months gestational development. Both parent and offspring showing strong vital signs. The alien looked up. "The Vexari will be pleased." The human handed Greg a data chip. "The remaining payment as agreed. Once activated with your thumbprint, the credits will transfer to your account." Greg hesitated, looking at Eliza's peaceful face one last time. The sedative would keep her unconscious until they were well away from the colony. By the time she woke up, he would be gone. "Will they hurt her?" Greg asked quietly. The human shrugged. "The Vexari are collectors and researchers. They value their specimens. She'll be well kept." Greg pressed his thumb to the data chip, completing the transaction. He watched as they carried Eliza into the shuttle. As the vessel lifted off silently into the night sky, he felt nothing but empty relief. His debts were clear. He was free. The Kai. Next morning, Greg Porter boarded a transport ship leaving New Montana. He carried nothing but a bag of personal items and a credit balance large enough to start a new life. He never looked back at the colony where his wife would soon wake up in a holding cell aboard a syndicate vessel, frightened and alone, with no understanding of how completely her life had changed overnight. The syndicate ship moved quickly out of the New Montana system, heading toward Nexus Station where the auction would take place. Eliza Carter slept on, unaware that she had been sold by the man who had promised to love and protect her, unaware that her fate now rested in the hands of those who saw her only as valuable merchandise. Eliza woke slowly, her head pounding and her mouth dry. For a moment, she couldn't remember where she was. This wasn't her bed. The surface beneath her was hard and cold. The air smelled wrong, sterile and metallic, nothing like the earthy scents of New Montana. She tried to sit up but felt dizzy. The room spun around her. It was small, with gray metal walls and a single door with no handle on the inside. A thin beam of light came from a strip in the ceiling. There was nothing else in the room except the narrow bench she lay on. "Greg?" she called out, her voice cracking. There was no answer. Panic rose in her chest as memories of the previous night came back in pieces. Greg bringing her tea. The unusual, bitter taste. The heavy sleepiness that followed. Her hands moved instinctively to her stomach, relieved to feel the small bump still there. Whatever had happened, her baby was still with her. The door slid open suddenly, and a human man in a dark uniform stepped in. He had cold eyes and a tight smile. "Good, you're awake," he said. "Most of the merchandise sleeps longer after sedation." "Merchandise?" Eliza's voice was barely a whisper. "Where am I? Where's my husband?" The man laughed. "Your husband is probably halfway to the core systems by now, spending his new fortune. He sold you to us, lady. The Centauri Syndicate now owns you, at least until the auction." Eliza shook her head. "No, that's not possible. Greg wouldn't." "He did." The man cut her off. "Signed the papers himself. Got a good price too, since you're carrying. The Vexari pay extra for that." The room seemed to tilt again, but this time it wasn't from the drugs. Greg had sold her? Sold her and their unborn child? It was too horrible to believe. Yet the cold reality of her situation left little room for doubt. "We'll reach Nexus Station in about 30 hours, the man continued, as if discussing something ordinary like a delivery schedule. "You'll be cleaned up and processed before the auction. Don't cause trouble, and things will go easier for you." He left a small container of water and what looked like a ration bar on the floor, then left. The door sealed shut behind him. Eliza didn't cry. The shock was too great. Instead, She drank the water slowly and forced herself to eat the tasteless ration bar. Whatever happened next, she needed her strength. For herself. For her baby. Hours passed in the small cell. Eliza tried to make sense of what had happened. Greg had gambling debts, she knew that much. But to sell her? To sell their child? The betrayal cut deeper than she could have imagined. The next time the door opened, 2 guards escorted her to a larger room where about 20 other humans sat in various states of distress. Most wore simple gray jumpsuits like the one Eliza now wore, though she had no memory of changing clothes. New arrival, one guard announced, pushing her forward. A woman with short gray hair and sharp eyes motioned for Eliza to sit beside her. First time off-world? She asked quietly when the guards moved away. Eliza shook her head. I've been on New Montana for 3 years. Before that, I studied on Earth and Mars. I'm Diane Foster, the woman said. Former Navy communications specialist. Been in this mess for 2 weeks now. Eliza Carter, xenobiologist. She hesitated. What is this place? That man mentioned an auction. Diane's face hardened. We're on a syndicate transport headed for Nexus Station. It's a trading post outside. Federation jurisdiction. They sell all sorts of things there, including people. That's illegal, Eliza said automatically. Not where we're going, it isn't. Diane looked at Eliza's stomach. You're pregnant? Eliza nodded. That makes you valuable. There's a species called the Vixari. They collect breeding specimens from intelligent species. Humans fascinate them because of our adaptability. Eliza felt sick. And my husband? He knew this? Diane's eyes softened with pity. The syndicate pays well. Some people will do anything for money. Over the next day, Diane explained more about Nexus Station and what awaited them. The auction would happen in a large facility where buyers from dozens of species would bid. Some wanted laborers, others wanted subjects for scientific research, and some had darker purposes. There are human ships that dock at Nexus, Diane whispered. Independent traders, mostly. If we could somehow get a message to one of them, but their conversation was cut short as the ship's engines changed pitch. They were arriving at Nexus Station. The captives were lined up and marched through the docking area into a large facility. Eliza caught glimpses of the station through viewports, a massive structure floating in space with hundreds of ships of various designs docked around it. The holding area was larger than the one on the ship, but just as bleak. Eliza and the others were placed in separate cells, these with transparent barriers at the front so potential buyers could view them. Like animals in a zoo, Eliza murmured, sitting on the small bench in her new cell. The next morning, attendants came to prepare them for the auction. Eliza was given clean clothes and told to wash. She was allowed to keep her jumpsuit but had to wear a metal collar that could deliver a painful shock if she tried to escape. As she was being led back to her cell, Eliza passed a viewing area where potential buyers were examining the merchandise. Most were aliens of species she had never seen before, but there were humans among them too, traders and mercenaries who operated outside Federation law. One human man stood apart from the others. He was tall with broad shoulders and sun-darkened skin, dressed simply in work clothes rather than the flashy outfits of the traders. His face was weathered, with lines around his eyes that spoke of years spent outdoors. He watched the proceedings with a tight jaw and cold eyes. Their eyes met briefly as Eliza passed. She saw something flicker across his face. Shock, perhaps, or recognition of something familiar. Then the guards pushed her forward and the moment was gone. Back in her cell, Eliza tried to plan to think of some way out of this nightmare. But the reality of her situation was overwhelming. Tomorrow, she would be sold to the highest bidder, and there seemed to be nothing she could do about it. She didn't know that the quiet human man she had seen was Noah Harrison, a rancher from the distant world of Avalon, who had come to Nexus Station for supplies. She didn't know that he had fought in the Rigel conflict as a colonial marine, or that the sight of pregnant human woman in chains had awakened something in him that had been dormant for years. She didn't know that Noah Harrison was already formulating a plan, one that would change both their lives forever. Noah Harrison stood in his rented room on Nexus Station, staring out the small viewport at the stars. His hands clenched and unclenched as he tried to control his anger. What he had seen in the holding facility had brought back memories he had tried for years to forget. 7 years ago, Noah had been Sergeant Harrison of the Colonial Marines, leading a squad during the Rigel conflict. They had been sent to liberate a human research outpost captured by hostile forces. They arrived too late. The scientists had been sold to various buyers, many to the same Vexari who now frequented Nexus Station. Noah had lost his entire squad in the failed rescue attempt. The guilt had driven him away from military service, away from civilization itself. He had used his settlement money to buy land on Avalon, a frontier world far from busy space lanes. There he worked the land and raised cattle, speaking to other humans only when necessary during his supply runs. He had come to Nexus Station to buy equipment and seeds, nothing more. Now he found himself facing a situation he had sworn to avoid. Other humans in danger, needing help he wasn't sure he could provide. But the woman's eyes had haunted him since their brief meeting, green eyes, filled with fear but also determination. And she was pregnant. An innocent life within an innocent life, both headed for a fate Noah understood all too well. He activated his communication device, connecting to a secure channel that few knew he still maintained. "Defiance Actual, this is Avalon Base," he said, using old code names from the war. "Request secure line to Captain Keene." There was a long pause before a woman's voice responded. "Avalon Base, this is Defiance Actual. Noah Harrison, is that really you? It's been 3 years since your last check-in." "Hello, Laura," Noah said, his voice softening slightly. "I need your help." Captain Laura Keene of the USS Defiance had served with Noah during the war. Now she commanded a patrol vessel that monitored the border regions near Nexus Station, though Federation ships rarely entered the neutral zone without specific cause. Noah explained the situation quickly, describing the human captives and the upcoming auction. "I can't just raid a sovereign station in neutral space," Laura said, frustration evident in her voice. "Not without direct evidence of Federation citizens being trafficked." "The auction is tomorrow," Noah said. "How fast can you get here?" 3 days minimum, and even then I'd need more than your word to act." Noah was quiet for a moment. "What if I can get you proof? And what if I can at least delay things until you arrive?" "What are you planning, Noah?" "Something stupid," he admitted. "But I can't. Just stand by this time." After ending the call, Noah checked his finances. His latest harvest had been good, and he had been saving for a new irrigation system. Between his credits and the equipment he could sell, he had substantial resources. It would have to be enough. He spent the rest of the day gathering information. The auction would start with common laborers, then move to those with special skills, or attributes. The pregnant woman, he had learned her name was Eliza Carter, would be among the last, commanding the highest prices. The Vexari representative, a tall gray being named Kelth, was particularly interested in her. Noah overheard him speaking to the auctioneer, describing his collection of breeding specimens and how a human xenobiologist would be a valuable addition. Noah felt sick. He knew what happened to the Vexari's specimens. They were kept in comfortable prisons, studied and experimented upon, their children taken for further study. They were well treated in a physical sense, but denied all freedom and dignity. The next morning, Noah dressed in his best clothes, still simple by Nexus standards, but clean and respectable. He brought all his financial records and ownership documents. If this plan was going to work, he would need to appear as a legitimate buyer. The auction began at midday in a large hall. Noah sat near the back, watching as people were brought out one by one. Some went to labor contractors, others to private buyers. Noah didn't bid. He was waiting. When Eliza was finally led onto the stage, there was a noticeable increase in interest from the buyers. Her pregnancy was now common knowledge, making her more valuable. She stood straight, her face composed despite the fear she must have felt. The auctioneer began his pitch, highlighting her scientific credentials and healthy condition. Bidding starts at 50,000 credits. Noah watched as several buyers raised their indicators, including Kelth the Vexari. The price climbed rapidly, far beyond what most humans on the station could afford. When it reached 200,000, only Kelth and one other buyer remained. Noah stood up. 500,000 credits, he said clearly. The room went silent. The auctioneer looked stunned. Sir, the current bid is only 220,000. I understand, Noah said, walking forward. I'm offering 500,000. Kelth's large eyes narrowed. 600,000. Noah met the alien's gaze steadily. 700,000 credits plus the deed to my reserve land holdings on Avalon, valued at approximately 300,000 more. The auctioneer looked between them, clearly excited by the unexpected bidding war. Kelth seemed angry, his gray skin flushing a darker color. The Vexari Biological Collective offers 1 million credits, Kelth said. Noah had reached his limit. He couldn't outbid the collective, but he had prepared for this. I invoke the right of marital claim, he said loudly. Murmurs spread through the crowd. The auctioneer frowned. Explain. Under Nexus Station's own legal code, Section 42, Paragraph 7, immediate marriage creates a legal bond that supersedes commercial contracts. I am offering to legally marry this woman now before witnesses, making her my spouse rather than property to be sold. The auctioneer consulted with a legal advisor, who nodded reluctantly. This is irregular but legally valid. The choice would be hers. For the first time, Noah looked directly at Eliza. Their eyes met, and he tried to convey that she could trust him without words. I'm Noah Harrison, rancher from Avalon. I know you don't know me, but I'm offering you freedom. Real freedom, not just changing owners. You can stay with me or I'll help you get back to Federation space. Your choice, but we have to decide now. Eliza stared at him, clearly weighing her limited options. Kelth was arguing loudly with the auctioneer, insisting that the sale proceed, as planned. Why? Eliza asked simply. Noah hesitated. How could he explain his reasons in just a few seconds? Because I've seen what happens to people sold to collectors, and because it's the right thing to do. Eliza looked at the angry Vexari, then back at Noah. His eyes were steady, his expression honest. She made her decision. I accept, she said. Clearly. The auctioneer sighed, then nodded. Prepare the marriage documents. The ceremony will proceed immediately. As Eliza was brought down from the stage, Kelth stepped into Noah's path. This isn't over, human. The specimen belongs in our collection. Noah didn't back down. Her name is Eliza, and she doesn't belong to anyone. The station's administrator was summoned to perform the ceremony. Noah knew this was just the beginning. Getting married was one thing. Getting off Nexus Station alive would be something else entirely. The marriage ceremony was brief and cold. The station administrator read the standard words quickly, barely looking up from his data pad. Noah and Eliza repeated the required responses. When they placed their thumbprints on the digital document, it became official and legally binding throughout most of civilized space. Noah noticed that Eliza's hands were steady, even though her face was pale. She was scared but not showing it. That took courage. Congratulations, the administrator said without emotion. The union is registered. You may depart. The metal collar was removed from Eliza's neck. She rubbed the skin where it had been, looking, uncertain about what would happen next. We need to go, Noah said quietly. My ship is docked in Bay 12. Can you walk? She nodded. I can manage. They left the auction hall together, watched by many curious eyes. Kelth the Vexari stood to the side, his large black eyes following their every move. Noah could feel the alien's anger like a physical force. Thank you, Eliza said as they walked through the station corridors. I know you didn't have to do that. We're not safe yet, Noah replied. The Vexari have a lot of influence here, and there's something else you should know. I contacted a Federation ship, the USS Defiance. The captain is an old friend. She's coming, but it will take 3 days. 3 days? Can we stay hidden that long? Noah's face was grim. We may not have to. My ship is ready for immediate departure. They reached a less crowded section of the station when Noah's communication device beeped. A message scrolled across the small screen. Noah's expression darkened. What is it? Eliza asked. Station security has placed a hold on my ship. We can't leave. He paused. And there's more. Someone named Greg Porter has arrived at the station. He's claiming his wife was taken against her will and is demanding your return. Eliza stopped walking. Greg is here? But he sold me. Why would he? My guess? The syndicate wasn't happy when their valuable merchandise got away. They probably threatened him into coming here to help get you back. Eliza's hands went to her stomach protectively. What do we do now? Noah thought quickly. We need a place to hide until the Defiance arrives. I know some people here, independent traders who don't like the syndicate or the Vexari. They might help us. They changed direction, moving deeper into the station's commercial district. The corridors here were filled with small shops and food stalls. People of various species moved about, trading and talking. It was easier to blend into the crowd. Noah led Eliza to a small repair shop tucked away in a corner. The sign above the door was written in several languages, including Standard Earth English. Max's Repairs, we fix anything. Inside, a large man with a thick beard looked up from the device he was working on. His eyes widened when he saw Noah. Harrison? Didn't expect to see you again so soon. His gaze moved to Eliza. And with company. Max, we need help, Noah said. Is the back room still available? Max studied them for a moment, then nodded. For you, yes, but it'll cost you. Name your price. They followed Max through the shop, to a small room in the back. It was cluttered with parts and tools, but had a small cot in one corner. You can stay here tonight, Max said, but only tonight. The syndicate has eyes everywhere. After Max left, Eliza sat on the cot, looking exhausted. Why are you doing this? She asked. You've risked everything for a stranger. Noah was quiet for a moment. I was a colonial marine. 7 years ago, my squad was sent to rescue people who had been taken by aliens, like you were. We failed. Everyone died except me. I'm sorry, Eliza said softly. When I saw you in that holding cell, I couldn't walk away. Not this time. He paused. You should rest. I need to work on a plan to get us off this station. While Eliza slept, Noah used Max's communication system to check on his ship, the Homestead. As he suspected, syndicate security guards were posted at the docking bay. Breaking through them would be difficult but not impossible. He also learned that Greg Porter was working with the syndicate openly now. They had placed a bounty on Noah and Eliza, alive only, which was some small comfort. Noah woke Eliza a few hours later. I have a plan, but it's risky. I'm going to create a distraction in the main market. While security is dealing with that, we'll make a run for my ship. What kind of distraction? Noah showed her a small device he had built from parts in Max's shop. This will overload the power systems in the market section. It won't hurt anyone, but it will create confusion. And if we reach your ship, the station might not let us leave. The Homestead has a few modifications that aren't on the official registry. Military-grade shields and some light weapons, enough to break free and outrun most pursuit craft. Eliza nodded, her face determined. Let's do it. They left Max's shop, separately. Noah went to the market while Eliza, wearing a hooded jacket borrowed from Max, made her way toward Docking Bay 12. The plan was for her to stay hidden near the bay until Noah's distraction drew the guards away. In the crowded market, Noah placed his device near a main power junction. He set the timer and walked away. 2 minutes later, the lights flickered and went out. Seconds after that, alarm systems began blaring. People panicked, rushing in all directions. Security personnel ran toward the disturbance just as Noah had planned. Eliza saw her opportunity when the guards at Docking Bay 12 received orders to help with the situation in the market. As soon as they left, she slipped inside the bay and found Noah's ship, the Homestead. It wasn't what she expected. Rather than a sleek vessel, the Homestead was a rugged transport ship, built for hauling cargo rather than speed. But it looked sturdy and well-maintained. The entry ramp was locked, but Noah had given her the access code. She entered it into the panel, and the ramp lowered slowly. Eliza hurried inside, finding her way to the cockpit as Noah had described. 5 long minutes passed before Noah appeared, breathing hard. We need to move fast. They figured out it was a distraction. He jumped into the pilot's seat and began the launch sequence. The ship's engines hummed to life. Station control is denying our departure request, Eliza said, looking at the communication panel. Noah smiled grimly. I wasn't planning to ask permission. The Homestead rose from the docking bay floor. Alarms blared as the ship pushed forward, breaking the docking clamps that tried to hold it in place. The bay doors ahead remained closed. Hold on, Noah said, activating the forward shields. The Homestead surged forward, crashing through the bay doors into open space. They're sending pursuit craft, Eliza reported, watching the scanner. Noah, push the engines to full power. They'll have to catch us first. The Homestead accelerated away from Nexus Station, racing toward the safety of deep space and the rendezvous point where, 3 days later, the USS Defiance would be waiting. The Homestead raced through space with 2 Syndicate pursuit ships close behind. Inside the cockpit, Noah worked the controls with practiced hands while Eliza watched the scanner. They're gaining on us, she said. These ships are faster than yours. Noah nodded grimly. But not as tough. There's an asteroid field ahead. We can lose them there. He adjusted their course, heading toward a dense cluster of space rocks. The Homestead shuddered as the first shots from the pursuit ships hit their shields. Shield strength down to 80%, Eliza reported, quickly learning the ship's systems. Hold on, Noah warned as they plunged into the asteroid field. The Homestead weaved between the massive rocks, taking occasional hits but avoiding the worst collisions. Behind them, the pursuit ships were having a harder time. They were built for speed, not maneuverability. A loud bang shook the ship as a small asteroid scraped along their left side. Warning lights flashed on the control panel. Damage to the left engine housing, Noah said. Nothing critical yet. One of the pursuit ships wasn't so lucky. It tried to follow the Homestead through a narrow gap between 2 asteroids but misjudged the distance. The resulting explosion lit up the darkness of space. One down, Noah said without celebration. The second ship continued the chase, more cautious now but still determined. It fired whenever it had a clear shot, slowly wearing down the Homestead's shields. We can't keep this up much longer, Eliza. Set its shield strength down to 30%. Noah studied the scanner, looking for options. There's a gas cloud ahead. If we can reach it, their sensors won't be able to track us. He pushed the engines harder. The Homestead shot forward, taking more hits but steadily pulling away from the pursuit ship. The gas cloud grew larger in their view screen, a swirling, mass of purple and blue. Prepare for sensor blackout, Noah warned as they entered the cloud. The view screen showed nothing but swirling gas. The scanner went silent. They were flying blind. Noah reduced speed and changed course. Now we wait. Hopefully they'll give up and leave. For several tense minutes they drifted slowly through the gas cloud. Then a proximity alarm sounded. They followed us in, Eliza said. But they can't see us, Noah replied. As long as we stay quiet. A massive jolt rocked the ship. The pursuit vessel had fired blindly and gotten lucky. Shields failing, Eliza reported. Another hit like that would cause serious damage. Noah made a quick decision. I'm going to drop a distress beacon. It will mimic our engine signature. They might think it's us and follow it. He launched the beacon, which sped away in the opposite direction from their actual course. Minutes later, they detected weapons fire in the distance. It worked, Noah said. They're chasing the beacon. He carefully guided the Homestead out of the gas cloud in a different direction. Once clear, they saw empty space ahead. The pursuit ship was nowhere in sight. We're safe for now, Noah said, easing back in his chair. But we took damage. The faster-than-light drive is offline. We need to find a place to make repairs. Eliza looked at the star chart. There's a small moon in this system. Uninhabited, but the scanner shows an atmosphere we can breathe. Noah set course for the moon. As they approached, they saw a barren landscape of rocks and shallow canyons. Not welcoming, but it would serve their purpose. The homestead landed roughly on a flat area near a canyon. Noah shut down the engines and checked the damage report. "It's not as bad as I feared," he said. "The FTL drive just needs realignment. With luck, I can fix it in a day or two." "And then what?" Eliza asked quietly. Noah looked at her. "Then we wait for the Defiance to reach the rendezvous point. After that?" He shrugged. "It's your choice. I meant what I said. You can return to Federation space, or..." He trailed off. "Or I can stay with you. On Avalon?" Eliza's hand rested on her stomach. "Would there be a place for us there?" "My ranch has plenty of room," Noah said. "And your skills as a xenobiologist would be valuable. Avalon is still being terraformed." Over the next 2 days, they worked together to repair the ship. Noah handled the mechanical work while Eliza helped by passing tools and learning the ship's systems. During breaks, they talked. Eliza told Noah about her life on New Montana, her work adapting Earth plants to alien environments, and her gradual realization that her marriage to Greg had been falling apart long before he sold her. Noah shared stories of his military service, the friends he had lost, and his solitary life on Avalon. He had land, cattle, and crops, but few visitors and no close friends. "It sounds lonely," Eliza said. Noah nodded. "It was my choice. After the war, I couldn't be around people. Too many memories." On the 3rd day, with repairs complete, they left the moon and headed for the rendezvous point. They arrived just as the USS Defiance appeared, dropping out of faster-than-light travel with its weapons ready. Captain Laura Keene welcomed them aboard personally. She was a tall woman with short black hair and the confident bearing of a long-serving officer. She hugged Noah briefly, then turned to Eliza. "Mrs. Harrison, I presume?" she said with a small smile. "Yes," Eliza replied, surprising herself with how natural it felt. "Thank you for coming." In Laura's office, they explained everything that had happened. Laura listened intently, her expression hardening when they described the auction and the syndicate's operations. "This evidence is exactly what I needed," she said when they finished. "The Federation has been trying to shut down human trafficking operations for years, but we lacked concrete proof. Your testimony, plus the marriage certificate showing a Kiyu Federation citizen was being auctioned, gives us cause to act." "What about Greg Porter?" Eliza asked. "And the syndicate people who took me?" "We'll find them," Laura promised. "Federation arrest warrants are being issued as we speak. As for the Vexari, their diplomatic mission has already been expelled from Federation space." Noah looked relieved. "So it's over?" "For now," Laura said. "But you two should decide your next steps carefully. The syndicate has a long memory." Eliza and Noah returned to the homestead, which had been docked in the Defiance's hangar bay. Standing in the small living area, they faced each other. "Time to decide," Noah said gently. "What do you want to do now?" Eliza thought about her options. She could return to Federation space, perhaps find work on a research station. She would be safe there and her child would have opportunities. Or she could go with Noah to Avalon, a frontier world where life would be harder, but perhaps more meaningful. A place where she could use her skills to help a colony grow, where she could build something new. And there was Noah himself. In just a few days, she had come to respect his quiet strength and integrity. He had risked everything to save her, expecting nothing in return. That was rare. "I want to go to Avalon," she said finally. "With you. Our marriage started as a way to escape, but maybe it could become something real. With time." Noah's weathered face softened. "I'd like that," he said simply. 6 months later, on a clear morning on Avalon, Eliza gave birth to a healthy baby girl. As she held her daughter for the first time with Noah by her side, she thought about the strange path that had brought her here. A betrayal that had led to an unexpected new beginning. A cruel husband who had sold her, and a quiet rancher who had married her on the spot. "What should we name her?" Noah asked, gently touching the baby's tiny hand. Eliza smiled. Hope, she said. Her name is Hope.